Hey everyone, welcome. This is Megan from Paint and Sip BT. I hope you're having a great day. In today's class, we're going to be walking through our red abstract painting. I had so much fun with this. On my channel, I rarely do abstract paintings, so I'm going to be walking through every step of the way on how I did this, what tools I used, how long it took, and what you need to complete something like this. Now here I'm going to provide you a list of my supplies. You can paint with me today or you can paint another time. It's absolutely up to you. But you can review the list of supplies that you'll need for today's class. I encourage you to paint with me, but if not, you're welcome to watch the video through and let me know if you have any questions. I first started out, as you can see in the video below, by using a different tool. So the tool that I used was thumbtacks. I knew that I wanted to approach this using different tools just outside of brushes. I found 3 thumbtacks and I taped them together with some painter's tape, and I started creating this scratchy look right on the bottom. And I love the scratchy look because it was really simple and I wanted to be nice and clean and really minimal detail because I wanted to play with some of this additional texture here. And for this inspiration, I decided to pick red. Now, I'm not a red person, but the inspiration that I saw for this abstract painting, which I'll put over here for you, was one that it was a modern style painting and it sold for like $5 billion or $2 billion or something crazy. And I said, I can do that. Any of us can do that. It may not sell for $2 billion, but it's fun to practice a different style where you may discover a new tool that you like. You may discover a technique that inspires you to bring it into a different painting that you may have. So the orientation for my canvas today was vertical, which is portrait. And you can play as much or as little as you want as you play with that bottom space. But I was focusing on 2 major textures for the painting as I was getting started. And if you want to do different textures with abstracts, you can do blotchy textures, you can grab a sponge, you can do smudging, you can use a brush, you can use a big brush, a little brush, you could use a wet brush, a dry brush. There's so many different techniques. And in my tutorials within my channel, I go through a lot of different techniques. So go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already to my channel. I'd love to share with you all the different ways that you can explore different ways to paint, all for fun, no matter your painting abilities. So now you can see in the video below, I'm using the edge of a pen. I found the back edge of a pen. Let's see here. Something like, this isn't a pencil, but like the back end of a pen. And I was dipping it in the paint and I was smudging it around into these circular shapes. Now the paint that I used was by a company called Reeves, and it's a thicker quality paint. And this is a little 1 milliliter tube, but some paints have different thicknesses. So if you go to the dollar store or Michael's, you may find, some lower quality paints. If you go to Michael's, there's also like mid-range paints, and then there's like the fancy high-end paints. I'll put some links in the comments below in the description for you to have just like, low cost, medium cost, high cost paints for you to consider based on your budget. Maybe there's certain paints that you're used to using. Just use whatever you have. But I really love these Reef paints. I send these out in the paint kits that I send to my team building classes and to general participants that need paint kits. I mail those out in these. So this is an awesome paint. I'll put a link down below if you're interested in seeing more about this Reeves paint because I like it. And it's nice and thick for the painting that we're using today. Now, once I did the red splotchy areas, I let it dry. I probably let it dry for about 45 minutes. So it was almost dry, but there was still some wet areas. And can you think about why maybe I did that? It was unintentional, actually. I was taking care of my kids and I ran upstairs and came back down. Next step in the video, I added a little bit of water, and I didn't know that I was going to be doing that. It was very spontaneous. And a lot of the things we do in our classes are spontaneous, which we do a lot of structured things for any of you that are type A, but we do include a lot of spontaneity. And I'm going to inspire you to come up with your own spontaneous ideas in these classes. All right? So let's take a look. In the video below, I'm using a wet brush. I'm using a brush that might look like something like this. And it's probably a number 2 or a number 3 round tip brush. I had a cup of water next to me. And I'm going to dip my brush in the water. And I'm going to move the water around like a watercolor aspect. And it's picking up on some of the white paint around the red paint around the edges, and it's doing a soft bleed of color. And I was like, ooh, I like this. Now, if you're new to my channel, I love bringing water into my acrylic paintings. I use it for blending. I use it to soften the opacity. I use it in lots of different ways, and it's so much fun. So I was like, I'm going to be really playful, and I'm going to bring in water to move this paint around. Now you can see there's a lot of different areas where I have very little paint pigment, like up here. But I'm playing and I'm just washing around on the insides. And I'm playing with keeping this main shape. Isn't this cool? I keep the main shape and I leave a little bit of white spaces. Look at that, in between. I liked those little white cells that I was leaving. And I was being conscious as a painter to leave some of those white cells in between the colors and in between the water swatches. Now you can see there's a lot of different areas where I have very little paint pigment, like up here. But I'm playing and I'm just washing around on the insides. And I'm playing with keeping this main shape. Isn't this cool? I keep the main shape and I leave a little bit of white spaces. Look at that, in between. I liked those little white cells that I was leaving. And I was being conscious as a painter to leave some of those white cells in between the colors and in between the water swatches. That was just something I was being mindful of because it was the idea that I had that I wanted to leave a little bit of white in between. Then I take my brush with a little water and I'm splattering by doing a little bit of this like flicking motion. It was so fun. I got these cool splatters all over just to give a little bit, and it's barely noticeable, but I really liked it quite a lot. Now, if you wanted to bring in any additional colors, you could. In today's inspiration, I did just red to be playful with the technique. And it's kind of thick and it's dried now so I can touch it. But I brought in a little bit of water and a little color up here, just for, and then it dried and it looked totally different when it dried, which you can see how the dried came out versus how I'm painting it on the live now. So I had a lot of fun with bringing in the water. So take your time. You can use as much or as little of that water technique as you wish. I usually just use the same cup of water with me. I always use, a glass jar like this of just water. Don't drink your paint water. It doesn't taste very good. Keep your wine and beer away from it while you're painting if you're enjoying a beverage. But I encourage you to add as much or as little water as you wish to kind of create that washing look. Now you could even bring in other colors as well, so it's absolutely your choice. Now, I went ahead and I let this dry entirely with the water and the red paint. And then when that was completely dry, that took, I don't know, maybe 45 minutes, an hour. It depends on how wet it is. But I came back and I looked at my painting the way it was, and I was like, it needs a little something else. Now I know we've all gone through this. We're saying, is my painting done or do I want to do something else to it? And in our classes, in the classes that I teach, we do a lot of the foundational colors first. We add a layer, we let it dry, or maybe we move to a different area of the painting and we paint that area. And then we come back and we kind of bounce them back and do details until we feel like our painting is done. You as the artist can make your choice. Me as an artist, I make my choices, but I'm here to just guide you and provide you that little bit of inspiration along the way to figure out how far you want to push your artwork based on the ideas and the style that you want to bring into it. But I was looking at my art and I said, it needs something else. So I had a Sharpie sitting nearby, and I love mixing media. I love breaking all the rules where you can bring in micron pens, you can bring in an ink pen. I love having a Sharpie in my classes. Sometimes I draw and sketch with a Sharpie so you can see it. Don't do that at home. But I encourage you to play with that. But I started finding all these nooks and crannies from a cell perspective. And I started doing little gaps and little figures inside. And this was so much fun for me. So the more you take my acrylic paint classes and tutorials through YouTube, I love the illustrative side of things. So anywhere I have an excuse to grab a micron pen. In this painting back here, I did micron pen details on those pink daisies So much fun. I love doing a little detail work with a micron pen. It's not suitable for every piece of art, but it's something that I had to bring into this, and I thought it came out so cool. I think doing this at a larger scale would be so much fun. If you are doing this with me, or if you're inspired by this art today, be sure to leave some comments below. I think doing this on a 16 by 20 maybe as the next step, picking a different color, maybe doing a blue or blue and greens. You can always use your color wheel and come up with complementary colors. So the possibilities are endless, but I hope that you are enjoying our tutorial so far, and it would be a pleasure to connect with you. So be sure to join our artist community here on YouTube. Again, my name was Megan, and I want to thank you so much for being here. Feel free to check out the rest of the video and let me know if you have any questions down below. But thanks again for being here, and talk to you all soon.